Hey, listen,
And
at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun to watch though, and that's why we watch college football is because the plays are electric and big, and no one likes the games that we saw last week between Georgia and Kentucky. Let's be honest. That
Field
doesn't
goal,
get the
field goal,
ratings.
field goal.
The ratings are what Nico puts out there on the field every Saturday that he's been doing this week for this year. And that's what I'm hoping for. So a high scoring game, Tennessee, Oklahoma, sign me up. I'm all about it. I could give two shits who wins. I just want to see a lot of actions. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beardzone Sports Talk. My name is David. I got Carlos. I got Scooter. And this week in the college episode of the Beardzone Sports Talk, we're going to be diving into and there was a lot of close games last week that I feel like should not have been close. And then we also got some big games coming up this Saturday that might push a couple of teams maybe into the top five in the rankings. So, but before we get into all of that, do us a favor, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That is the best way to continue to support us as we grow this college season. Gentlemen, there's been two games that we definitely circled on or this past weekend. So I want to get right into it. But Mizzou, Boston College. Boston College, man, is looking pretty good. Are they going to be an issue in the next couple of years?
I would say they're an issue this year. I mean, Bill O'Brien's done a fantastic job with that college. And BC's never been that one to go for the natty, probably outside the Doug Flutie era. Matty Ice, you had that run too, and it was very pass heavy. You've always had talented guys come out of the Boston College, but I think this year, starting now and moving on, they're a threat to the ACC. Watching FSU fall into the raging dumpster fire they are now, when they went undefeated last year. Then you got Clemson, which is 50-50. Dabo's a great coach. They got good talent, but you don't know if they show up. The defense is good. And then you got Miami just rolling, man. The Hurricanes are a hot team right now. They got all the talent in the world. I don't know how they back up Cam Ward once he graduates and moves on to the NFL, but we'll see. And Cristobal needs this year. Then you got Louisville. Boston College is going to upset some people. Like we said earlier in a couple episodes, Louisville can be that team. I'm not switching my cards, though. But BC, probably another team that can do it. Because Mizzou struggled.
Yeah, BC will be a team that nobody can take lightly. Bill O'Brien will have that team ready each and every week, and Castellanos will get better at quarterback. And I just think they were able to contain Ward this week with Mizzou. So Mizzou's good, man. They're a good football team. They got a stud running back in Noel, and he went over 120 this past week. So, and they're becoming more of like an SEC team. It's taken them time. And their tenure in the SEC, but you can see some of that defensive toughness and things that are SEC known. So they're getting there because they've had rankings before where they've been in that 15-ish range, but for them to be 6 is big. So, but yeah, they got a little scare there from BC.
Definitely, and the ACC should definitely be taking notes with the way that Boston College has been playing this year and moving forward, because I'm going to be very curious to see what they're able to do this coming up transfer portal off season. So it might be a hot team to go to. But let's move on to the biggest surprise of this past weekend. Georgia, the number one ranked Bulldogs, squeaked by Kentucky by 1 point. And it wasn't like a 38-37 or a high scoring game. No, we're talking 13-12, people. 13-12. Very ugly showing by the Georgia Bulldogs, or great showing by the Kentucky. by Kentucky. Which one was it?
I think it's both.
Both. Yeah. Both defenses came to shine, man. I think it was a complete underestimation from UGA and Kirby Smart on offense. to the Kentucky Wildcat defense, man. Like, if you watch that, they were locking down receivers. Carson Beck couldn't hit anybody, which was really strange because he's outside of was it Evers out of Texas? He's the number one recruit or number two recruit for the draft, the quarterback position. So if you're a UGA fan, should you be worried? Maybe. Your next opponent is in 2 weeks in Tuscaloosa in a SEC championship rematch. So yeah, probably when Alabama is actually very hot right now. The defense-wise in the SECs, it seems to be pretty well matched. Bob Stoops has got a great thing going on there. Mike Stoops? I think it's Mike Stoops. Mike Stoops, because his older brother. Sorry. Mike Stoops. No, Kentucky Wildcat defense, man. Cannot underestimate it. And everyone remembers last year, you got to rewind some tape, Kentucky went undefeated for a little while and started looking at potentially the Eastern Division of the SEC threatening UGA, but we all kind of knew that story. There's no reason, at least on paper, recruiting, NIL, whatever, that Georgia should lose at all, unless it's a tight matchup against maybe Alabama, maybe Tennessee, and Ole Miss. And Ole Miss is looking super hot, but it's also a Lane Kiffin team, so we'll see how that plays out. There's always at least one game. There's always one game, and it's like, you choked. Tennessee's in the mix. We'll see how that plays out because they got Oklahoma this week. But Alabama, watching the USF game and all the other games they've played so far, they look very clean. Like, they may have a hiccup in the first half, but they wrap it up, man. Was it Doer, the head coach from Washington, now Alabama? He hasn't lost more than 2 games in, I think, like 3 seasons. So to keep that in mind. Or is it like 3 or 4 games, something like that? I think it was 2 when ESPN brought it up during the game. So Georgia cutting it close with Kentucky, to me, was the defensive mind taking over for Kirby Smart and not capitalizing on those cues. They need to get back to their run game. Georgia's always been a run and play action type of team. If they can't get back to that, I don't know how Beck does moving forward. I still think they're a playoff team without a doubt in my mind. Even at 2 losses this season, they're going to be in the playoff, just because their strength of schedule. But I'm not worried if I'm a UGA fan, to be honest, because Kirby Smart's rebound games, if you watched any of the past 3-4 years, they're very, very good on the rebound.
Yeah, I was impressed with Kentucky's defense. I mean, they held them to 260 yards. That's pretty impressive for them. I mean, even they had 270, but you kind of would expect that with Georgia's defense with Kentucky to hold them. But man, if Kentucky just could have scored one freaking touchdown, and no field, just one touchdown, they win this game. So, but yeah, it's SEC life, man. You never know. But Georgia, I think, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about Georgia. This might be like that little wake up call, but for them. But Kentucky looked good. I'm curious to see. There's some teams out there this year that look good. It's like the kind of it's a little topsy turvy. But teams like Kentucky, they look good for a little bit, and then they start hitting that meat of the schedule because they like Ole Miss the SEC's got some really good teams this year. Well, they do every year, but Ole Miss is starting to look like an SEC team now too. But Kiffin's kind of like Notre Dame, man. He finds a way to lose the game he should win. So you never know with Kiffin. So, but yeah, they definitely escaped the scare, and then they lose their number 1 ranking to Texas, which I still think Texas should have been number 1 coming out of the gate. But we'll see. There'll be that matchup coming in a few weeks with Texas and Georgia. Then we're really going to see.
Yeah, we have that circled on our calendar for sure. And Kentucky, man, they're looking like an NFL-led team by a rookie quarterback. No offensive touchdowns. You know what I mean? So, but let's just move on to games coming up this week. So a game coming up this week that I'm actually very curious to kind of see what happens is Tennessee. Tennessee is going up against Oklahoma. Scooter, you mentioned it earlier. This is kind of one of those games where Tennessee has been looking really, really good, right? But they haven't really necessarily played anyone that carries a lot of weight with them. Oklahoma's been looking pretty good, but again, there's not been a lot of weight behind the opponents that they've faced. So, what should we expect coming into this matchup? And if Oklahoma wins, where does that put them? But if Tennessee wins, does that put them now in the top 5?
I just
I
wish
don't
the
know.
game was later on. So,
I mean,
How is
Tennessee hasn't really played anybody.
neither is Oklahoma.
Yeah, they're both playing teams that, I mean, I guess you give
They both
Oklahoma
played
the edge because they played Houston, but I mean, nobody's really caring about Houston. So I see a lot of points. That's what I see. And they'll probably let me down and it'll be like a 17-10 game, but I don't know what the over under is. And Tennessee's definitely the favorite, but I see a lot of points getting thrown up in this game.
So if anyone remembers the Baker Mayfield game with Texas Tech and Oklahoma, I think it was Patrick Mahomes in there too. Junior version of Patrick Mahomes where they scored like 7 touchdowns apiece.
Yeah.
That's this game again. I believe it. Same thing what you're saying, Carlos. Jackson Arnold for Oklahoma, straight slinger. Same thing with Nico for Tennessee. You got Josh Heupel. Tennessee hasn't had defense and can't remember.
Who knows?
And Oklahoma's historical defense has kind of dropped off. To me, this sounds like if it's below 30 points on both sides, I'd be very shocked. Again, it's hard to judge specifically how this is going to play out because both teams, Oklahoma and Tennessee, haven't played like a tough team. Like that's the crazy part about the SEC and say the Big Ten. They go from playing nobody and being the best thing ever to playing each other and like murdering each other on the national stage. And you're going, well, this team sucks. Well, look at Alabama. They got beat and then won the SEC championship and then got into the playoff. They beat the best team in the nation and went into the playoff. So it's like you can have an early loss to the SEC and then run the table and be totally fine. And Oklahoma, to me, has to win this game. Otherwise, it's going to set the course for the rest of the year. They have the easiest strength of schedule in the entire SEC. They want to prove themselves as the big boys. When the Red River rivalry, there we go. Alliteration, everybody. They're going to get owned by Texas. So you already got one loss there. You're going to end up playing a bunch of other A-list teams that you typically didn't play before. So, this would be the best test for Oklahoma fans if you want to see if your team's a complete joke or not. In Tennessee, if you don't win, man, you got a long road ahead. It's not looking good. Josh Heupel puts up a ton of points, though, and I would love to. I don't really care, but like Tennessee hype is a lot like UF hype. So I'm going to roll with the Sooners. You can just Oklahoma soon these nuts. Like, let it roll. Let's go Jackson Arnold. Throw like 7 to 8 touchdowns.
That's the thing with Tennessee. There's been years they had Joe Milton. They look like they're going to be, who stops them? They're scoring. Even when they had Peyton Manning, I mean, he couldn't beat the Gators. So Tennessee's just one of those programs that fan base is just hoping. They're just praying that they can put it together finally, but I don't see it for the. I think they win this game. I just don't see them making a huge run. I feel like somewhere they're going to blow it. It's Tennessee. They find a way.
And they play in Oklahoma, I believe. So
yeah,
I have faith in Tennessee. I have faith in Nico. I just love that guy, man. I mean, he is thrown for 698 yards so far this season.
Playing high school teams, yeah.
Hey, listen, at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun to watch, though, and that's why we watch college football is because the plays are electric and big, and, no one likes the games that we saw last week between Georgia and Kentucky. Let's be honest. That doesn't get the ratings.
Field goal.
The ratings are what Nico puts out there on the field every Saturday that he's been doing this week for this year, and that's what I'm hoping for. So a high-scoring game, Tennessee, Oklahoma, sign me up. I'm all about it. I could give two shits who wins. I just want to see a lot of action. So, but let's move on to another game this week, another ranked game. We have the USC Trojans and the Michigan Wolverines. What are we looking at? You know what's funny is that like a few years ago, right back in the day, man, this would be like a heavyweight matchup, right? I mean, like this would be a game that we would definitely be circling on our calendars. But now it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it is ranked, and Michigan did win the national championship last year, but they haven't really shown anything. I mean, they got blown out of their own stadium by Texas a couple weeks ago. So, what should we expect in this game?
Well, Michigan is making a quarterback change, so they're going with a guy who I like because was a neighboring actually city of mine when I lived in Texas, from Saxe, Texas, which is a very small town. But they're going with Alex Orjai, and he's going to be the new quarterback this week. So very talented, can run, can throw. I just don't think they were getting enough offense out of the last guy, and they need that spark. They need something. It's kind of like what Florida with Lagway. They need something to give that offense that boost they need. So curious to see how he does in his first start. Yeah, curious to see what he does. Does the emotion get to him in the beginning? You get all that adrenaline and make some mistakes. And I mean, and the Trojans got a lot to deal with that Michigan front four. So of course that front four got put in its place against Texas, but they're not Texas. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out with the Michigan change at quarterback. I guess the hope there is, replacing Warren, that it'll jumpstart that offense. They need it. They need something. They can't win. You're going to have to be able to put up some points against these ranked teams.
Now, so USC Trojans are undefeated as of right now, right?
Yeah.
So let's say hypothetically, and I understand, Scooter, I know that you're about to go on a rant, and that's why I'm kind of throwing you this alley-oop really quick. But they are undefeated right now. They're at 11. If they go and they beat 18th ranked Michigan, do they find themselves in the top 8, 7 at this point because of this win? Or are they going to kind of stay right there at the 11-10 spot?
They don't touch the top 10, and here's why.
I mean, they're touching it right now. They're 11.
You got to play. You got all Lincoln Riley. You're gonna choke. You have no defense. You have a quarterback and a running back. That's all you got. You're an overhyped USC since Pete Carroll and all before that. So you keep in mind that Woody Marks is an outstanding running back, and if they rely on the run game for USC, they have a chance. Michigan's defense is absolutely not the same as last year. It's not the same offense. You may have very similar coaching and everything else. But if you're switching quarterbacks right now, what it means is you made a bad decision earlier on. You got owned in your own house by a powerhouse that's potentially the best team in the nation. And Donovan Edwards should have transferred. He should have transferred. The offense is not clicking the same way. If you played the college football 25 game, Michigan was incredibly overrated, and I hope that resets so I can play online again. But
Amen.
USC's biggest introduction to the Big Ten is none other than Michigan, and I don't think they win. If Lincoln Riley pulls one out, I'd be very shocked. USC, to me, does not seem like the complete team. I think you have an extension of the Caleb Williams era. You're going to score a ton of points. You're going to get upset. You're going to score a ton of points, get upset. It's still Lincoln Riley formula. There's no difference. And I would just love to see the Trojans lose. You got to face the Irish, and you got to face, I believe, Miami. And then you got, who else they got? UCLA. You got a couple other teams too. And you're in the Big Ten. You're going to end up having to play Penn State, Ohio State. They're not winning that. They're not going to beat.
Oh, they have Nebraska.
They're not beating Nebraska. They're not beating Notre Dame. Notre Dame has the best secondary in the entire college football.
They played my Huskies. I mean, my last year.
They're winning that
one. Washington's a big dumpster fire ever since everyone just pieced out.
Ever since I left their fan base. I know, man. It's been
Nebraska is not a joke. That's a very revitalized team. USC is going to have a really hard introduction this year, much like Oklahoma, to the new conference. I think Michigan rebounds here and kind of proves where they're at in the Big Ten. Like, this is still the Big Ten. Welcome. Now see your way out.
You know, I love the consistency with you, and I love that every college episode we get a slander of Lincoln Riley from Scooter. It just makes
He's
my
so
heart
overrated,
so
man.
if you've been listening to us for any amount of time, you know this man right here does not like Lincoln Riley, and he
Three
makes it very
Heismans.
clear. This
Three
is why we've
Heismans
been.
and
This is
0 championships. And I mean 0.
This is
Zero
why we've
conference
missed you on the NFL episode, Scooter, because we haven't gotten the Caleb Williams slander. And it's the perfect time right now. Because
Caleb
he's
sucks.
stuck.
Straight sucks. Paint your nails, move on. Get your man purse, move on.
Oh,
Like,
man.
dude sucks. He has the best. Never mind. That's a different episode.
A different episode,
Hey,
right?
David has a man purse.
Hey, I do. I have a man purse. It's great
It's called
for
a
my
fanny
wife
pad, but
hips.
okay.
I just saw too where Tennessee's raising ticket prices 10% since the new revenue sharing for athletes, where the schools will be paying the money. So they're starting that next week, that the ticket prices go up 10% to start building that bank account to dish out some dough.
Man, that alumni is like, nope.
Well, I mean, hopefully Carolina can take some notes, because God knows they need some ticket sales right now. So, but different episode for sure. I mean, Scooter, you talked about it. I mean, talk about wasting of a quarterback. I mean, that's Carolina. But again, that's different episode. Let's go ahead and move on to the team that we were just talking about, Nebraska. They face Illinois this week. I feel like both teams are kind of hyped, but I think Nebraska is a true hype. They're good. And I love Nebraska. And that's why you can say, I think I finally found a team, boys, this year. I found my team this year. I'm going Nebraska. Let's go. Let's go, Nebraska. I'm all in. So
I'm going to tell you now, you just joined the fan base that's about to suffer their first loss.
No.
Illinois, nonetheless, man.
No.
Illinois.
Yeah.
He's still true freshman, man. Altmaier for Illinois is really good. Illinois got a good football team, man. Don't sleep on them just because those Huskers beat up on prime times, like high-end high school team he's got running up there.
Did you see that? I think it was Travis Hunter who he was wearing an Apple Watch. Did you see that?
Yeah. I think he'll end up probably getting like some slap on the wrist or whatever. Just okay. So you want to look at upsets? Illinois has a 30% chance to win this game, and it's in Nebraska.
That's
Nebraska is a pretty hard place.
Huskers. Let's go.
I mean, there's not much else in Nebraska. If you've driven through it, it's a whole lot of nothing.
That's okay.
It's
just
football and corn. So
yeah,
I mean, you got to look at some of the stats, right? You got Riola, who's 670 yards passing, 5 TDs and 1 interception, but you really didn't play anybody. Then you got Altmaier, 647 yards and 6 touchdowns and no interceptions. So on paper, Illinois looks a little better quarterback. You got Fagan, 171 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. You got Dowdle for that's Illinois, and then you got Nebraska, 184 yards with 2 touchdowns. So relatively even there. And wide receivers, you got a little bit more favoritism on the Illinois side than Nebraska. I think Nebraska has a better spread of the ball and usage of the offense. Illinois is probably a little bit more favored to the running and 1 wide receiver, which we typically see, right? When we saw with, I don't know, Colorado. You got Travis Hunter, the running back. That's it. Like, Shador's got, the 4th most passing yards this season so far, but that's all they've had to do is throw the ball because they've been playing either from behind or they got to score enough points to be out ahead because their defense isn't what it was or is or whatever the hype is. But Nebraska, from what I can tell on tape, seeing them play so far, Illinois would be an interesting challenge. I'm surprised Illinois is ranked this early. Illinois historically hasn't been that good probably since, 80s, 90s. No, I can't even say that much. About 70s, 80s. So, in Nebraska, though, hasn't been relevant probably since 95. So, this would be a good test for 2 ranked teams. Again, it's early, man. It's very early. And true freshmen have come to play. We've had the Manziels. We've had the Newtons. We've had you just list them all off, man. The Tebow. But Nebraska does have to play harder teams as we move into the Big Ten. I think Nebraska wins at home. I don't think Illinois is much of anything. They haven't been historically. They can't seem to win against teams they're supposed to win against. They do look hopeful this year. I'll give them that. But I think Nebraska looks more holistically better. That doesn't sound right, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm not a big Nebraska fan. I mean, I guess I don't. It doesn't matter. Miami in the Rose Bowl whooped them so bad it put the program back 5 years. I think it was Eric Crouch was quarterback, and they were supposed to be the best team to come out. Like this Nebraska team was just, and man, they got steamrolled by Miami so bad. They knocked out half of the team during the game, and the program has never recovered. So it's nice to see that they're, a concussion.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah. Hey, make you run faster. But yeah, I honestly, I probably think Nebraska wins this one. I think their defense is going to be too much.
Yeah, definitely should be a good game this week, fellas. We're getting to the end of the episode, but it would be not good of me as a good host to talk about the two teams that you two represent. I talked about my Cornhuskers and how good we're going to be. So, fellas, your two teams are meeting this week in the good old Raymond James Stadium. How's it going to look? USF for the upset? Are we going to see the mighty ACC Kings fall to USF Bulls this week?
I think I could see it being a tough game for Miami. So I'm thinking like 56-10, and they get those 10 points in. But man, I'm going to tell you what Miami's doing this year that they didn't do in the past. And they've had good football teams over the last 5 or 6 years. They just weren't, they were playing to the level of the competition. So if they were way better, but they're playing a lower rank or team that they should be, they played to that level. They are not doing that this year. They are playing to their level. They're setting the standard, and they are not holding back. I guarantee it 2 to 3 years ago, they would have never put up 60-something up on Ball State. They would have either held back or something. But these kids, even when they put in the second and third string, it's like those, man, Cristobal's not letting it happen. And they've lost to the Bulls before. I don't see that happen. I see Miami going in there and just doing what they've been doing all year, just putting up a lot of points. The defense is on point. They're getting their best defensive player back this week as well with Ruben Bain Jr. So man, I just don't see it. I don't think Cristobal lets it happen. I think they've learned from their past mistakes.
I think it's going to go to the Bulls. What we saw against Alabama was a spectacular defense for like 7/8 of that
Two
game.
drives.
I don't know what you guys saw. That was at least 7/8 of the game. All right. We just couldn't pass the ball. We had a run game. We couldn't get the ball deep down the field. And as always for like the past 10 years, if it's deep ball contested, I'm just waiting for the flags for pass interference. It happens. I think if we give Cam Ward enough pressure and our offense actually scores some points, I think we have a chance. To be honest, I think it's probably Miami's win, but I'm going to root for my Bulls anyways, because we have beaten y'all before when you're supposed to have talent, when you had the swagger and all that other crap, and we whooped y'all, and then we proceeded to lose like 6 games. But I think USF has the wave of talent and the wave of culture behind Coach Golish and all that talent. But Byron Brown, I don't know what happened during Alabama. He has a great arm, good legs. He just couldn't hit the broadside of Denny Stadium. I don't know how the hell that happened. We do play better at home, so I'll give him that. The defense is way better, like way better than last year. And the front four and all of our linebackers' speed, you guys better be ready.
They'll be fine.
Cam Ward's what, like 30? Yeah, I'm sure he'll be fine.
He's not that old.
He's like the Bo Nix now. Like
no.
they were worried. Yeah, they were worried about Bo Nix and Penix being old. You got Cam Ward over there in crutches. Like, let's go, guys. Like,
No. That is the one thing though when Florida teams play each other, because you always hear about they grew up with these kids, so they know a lot of each other already, and the kids that end up at USF were either there was a grade issue that they couldn't get into Florida, one of the big three sometimes, or they just a talent. There's just so much talent, but I mean they will be fast, but.
I mean, FSU had Jameis, so
that quarterback. But the Gators got fast people too. So look what happened.
A bunch of
there.
felons, but okay.
Yeah, I mean,
we're gonna talk about grades. No, let's talk about track record.
I'm gonna break out the Lewis jersey, and I will be on the USF Bulls side, the home side, Saturday night, repping that, and we'll see. I think I'll be by myself, so you should be able to catch me around 9:30 p.m. because they'll have done left, but I'll still be there, and I'll have my sign that says Scooter.
It's a night game too. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah, it's gonna be
so humid. Man. It's gonna be so humid, man.
Yeah, but I think it'll be a good crowd too. I'm excited to go and rep my team. It's not often they're up here, so I'll be there. I'll make sure to bring a sign and hold it up, and it says, "Hey, I was right."
Just a big FU Scooter.
Right, yeah.
The whole day I'm going to be doing like this.
I understand. That's only meant for Texas. We haven't been that good. It usually goes like, oh, I can't do it right now.
Let me tell you that
too close.
I would never do that. There's and I get college has their things, and I hate when the people do this. For Miami, I'm like, you just made an M. So it's Miami. It's University of Miami. So yeah. I don't know they're idiots out there.
And I think USF has played Miami more the past few years than we've played our own rivals of UCF. So we might as well just join the ACC and just like mix it, whatever.
I mean, we're only a 16.5 point favorite. So betting wise, I might take the spread, but I got to see what the over under is on here.
I love the subtlety with it. We're only 16.
Only 16. Yeah, actually.
Yeah, just so you're aware, Alabama was only a 21 point.
They were actually pretty high. I wish I would have threw a couple $100 on
the
you.
Last 6 minutes of that game. Thank you, referees, but we couldn't score. That was the name of that one. But if we can do the vertical, Golish's offense is we either do absolutely nothing like we did against Alabama, or it's like 40 points. I don't know why. There's no in between. You watch last year, you watch how we're playing this year, it's exactly the same.
That is true. You got 2 high 40 games and then the 116, so you were 100% right there. Miami's only averaging 50 something a game, so that's not too
Give or take a turnover.
Say that's a pretty healthy offense right now.
Yeah, they're doing all right.
Yeah,
they did give up 100 yards of offense last week. I was very disappointed.
Wow, horrible
Terrible
performance.
They ran sprints,
and that should get them conditioned now to take on the USF Bulls and the home stadium. I guess I don't even know. You guys are getting a stadium though soon. You guys are going to get a stadium soon. So, but
as long as they still serve beer, like that's the one thing. We're not a dry campus. And we have a new president of the university. Like, we better still serve beer. I swear to God.
Well, it is a college football stadium, so I would assume that they're going to provide the adult beverage there. But let us know your bold takes down in the comment section. What are your takes this weekend? What are some games? Does USF get the big upset over Miami? I don't think so. Do the Cornhuskers lose? Absolutely.
Can they lose? They've got the David backing now.
Dude,
you should sing their fight song.
I don't
Next
even know
episode.
It, but I'll find out.
Corn. Fight corn.
The state has only shade from all of the cornfields. It's so flat.
But let us know those bold takes down there in the comment section. If you guys are still with us, rocking with us this late into the episode, we definitely appreciate that. go ahead, do us a favor. If you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That is the best way to continue to help us grow this college NFL or this college season. Follow us on all of our social medias. We're on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we are on Facebook, and obviously we are on YouTube as you are watching us now on YouTube. But all of those links are down there in the description as well. We're going to be getting more proactive at those. We know that we've been pretty quiet, but we're getting more proactive at those as the season unfolds. So go ahead and do us a big favor and follow us on there. And then follow us here. Turn on that notification bell because on Friday we're going to be talking about all the games that are coming up this NFL week. There's a lot of big games. There's been a lot of teams that have been surprising. So if you want to watch the recap, go ahead and check out the last video that we just posted yesterday. But we appreciate you guys. We love you guys. And until next week.